The 390 Adventure S, Indian with the adjustable suspension, and the X, they have different preload settings, and the X runs a higher preload. It's also running the higher preload on the lighter machine. So everything just feels like, it's giving me more feedback, it's jarring through everything. Takes a while to work out that it doesn't take any strain from it though, because it still has 200 millimeters of suspension travel, and you can bash it through bad roads really hard. It doesn't take any stress from it, and all of those qualities are there. But on the X, it's obvious that these qualities are there. On the 250 Adventure, it takes you a moment to realize that those abilities are there. There are also other small issues. One, this engine overall feels a little bit smoother than the 390 engine to start out with, but it feels like that middle vibration that the 390 engine has. It has every single one of those vibrations, but it's compressed into 500 RPM.
What RPM range is
5,000 to 5,500.
And that is?
Exactly where you are much of the time. Right? And
I just knew it.
to the point where I went to KTM service and asked them to ride the bike and double check that this was how the 250s were, and they said yes, this is how the 250s are. But I cannot describe it more than the first time you hit it, the feeling that you get is your foot pegs are going drrrr, and then when you close the throttle and you come back down the throttle, there's the drrrr again.
This is like that resonance wala feeling, na?
It's a very strong vibration.
I know.
It's a very strong vibration. I don't necessarily think it's a deal breaker, but it is a huge annoyance, to the point where it is more annoying than the 390 Adventures vibration, because that's lower amplitude spread out over a wider spread. This is just specific to those 500.
Oh.
And at the end of those 170 kilometers, I was out on the highway. I would basically stay in fifth longer and not go to sixth.
Okay.
Until in fifth, I had reached 6.5 or whatever, and then I'd shift down, knowing that now the shift point
out of that zone
will bring me to 5,600 RPM minimum. Right? And when you try to push this motorcycle faster, again, remember, this is a smaller engine than the 390 as a reference point. It has 31 bhp, that's 15 bhp less, right? From 7,000 RPM, you can feel the vibration and the sense of strain coming. Okay, it's a little bit of vibration in the foot peg, it's a little bit of vibration in the handlebar. It's nothing that will interrupt your flow, but will it feel like it is robustly, authoritatively going up to its red line? No, the 390s do that. The 250 does not do that. That's the other reason to not get this bike. If you're going to tomorrow discover that you do like to cruise and you're a reasonably quicker rider than normal, etc., you've worked hard to create that skill, that safety that is required for you to operate like that, then this motorcycle will not have enough performance for you. Okay, again, underneath that is exactly the same motorcycle as a 390 Adventure X. The capability set is almost the same, enhanced by the extra on the engine. That's what I would get instead. The other reason to also do that, unfortunately, is they have the exact same suspension units in the exact same state of tune. But this motorcycle is 5 kilos lighter than the 390 Adventure. So suddenly it feels like everything is a little bit stiffer. Not a deal breaker. No lack of capability. If you go through the bumps harder, everything seems to work.
Right.
But the 390 Adventure X has almost the plushness of the Himalayan, because the weight and the preload and everything settles in. This motorcycle's got little too much.
What is the difference in weight you said? Just 5. Oh. They haven't retuned it.
No, they said that this was designed to fit both of these motorcycles, because again, the 390 will go everywhere.
Right.
It's not just an India product, the X, which was the last time. This is a global product, this X. So this 250 is a sub product, as it were. So they didn't think that it needed another set of suspension tuning. And if you remember, what I said was the 390 Adventure S, Indian with the adjustable suspension, and the X, they have different preload settings, and the X runs a higher preload. It's also running the higher preload on the lighter machine. So everything just feels like, it's giving me more feedback, it's jarring through everything. Takes a while to work out that it doesn't take any strain from it though, because it still has 200 millimeters of suspension travel, and you can bash it through bad roads really hard. It doesn't take any stress from it, and all of those qualities are there. But on the X, it's obvious that these qualities are there. On the 250 Adventure, it takes you a moment to realize that those abilities are there. Which means if you're the average rider, let's call it 65, 70 kilos, suspension's not immediately going to feel like it's wonderful. If you're 90 kilos or 100 kilos, it is going to feel like it works. But at 100 kilos, is 31 bhp and sleepy throttle map going to be enough to make you feel happy that you bought a big premium bike? That's basically where the story goes and gets stuck.
Also, one more thing, I remember from the X that the brakes used to have this little bit of...
The 250 Adventure still gets what Bajaj likes to call high mu organic brake pads, what I like to call per Q organic brake pads, because this is not a confident braking machine, despite the fact that it has exactly the same hardware as the other machine. So if you're buying this bike, please prepared to spend 2,800-ish rupees and change this brake pad. My solution always is take this brake pad, put it in a piece of plastic and put it in your touring gear as your backup brake pad just in case, and never go back to these again if you can avoid it.
Right.
But it's an unnecessary cost cutting. Not a single one of the bikes Bajaj has recently made, under whatever brands they make them, has had this per Q organic front brake pad and produced a good result. So to me, just don't do it.
Because there was the one thing on the X that I was just like, nah, this, like, it got in the way by the end of I rode it up from Mumbai to Pune and back.
No, I'm telling you this. In the first 30 kilometers, I had moments where I didn't think it was going to stop in time.
Like, it just gets in the way of you flowing smoothly with the bike, because every time you're like kind of waiting, is it gonna?
Yeah, it's like, see, I'll say this. At the racetrack, when we are teaching, we say that think about your bike as a 100 bhp bike, and therefore your brakes are 200 bhp brakes. And that balance is what makes a motorcycle feel confident, so that you can go and you can stop and all of that kind of thing. It's like with these bikes, it feels like it's a 31 bhp bike with 25 bhp brake pads, right? So the first 30 kilometers for me is just calibration.
Yeah.
And that calibration is frightening, because every single time you anticipate a braking distance and the bike fails to meet your expectation. It's not dangerous, but this is unnecessary.
The KTM 250 Adventure is almost awesome. No. It's almost something. What is it? Well, you can find out by catching the entire conversation on the MotorInc app, where the MotorInc First of the KTM 250 Adventure is playing right now. The app is free to download.